Hey everybody, we're live. Welcome to Tuesday, and we're back here. Hopefully, we'll get through more than a couple of verses like we did last week, and but we're on those touchy-feely, people get mad at scriptures here. We're in Colossians chapter 3. Hope everybody's doing well, and if you're on live with me right now, make sure and make comments and things like that, like, subscribe, whatever, so that we get the algorithms going. If you stop by later, we ask you to do the same thing. Good morning, everybody. Good to see the comments coming in. We're on Colossians chapter 3, verse 17, and actually, well, we'll just go ahead and start at 17. We did that last one, but it's a short one. Whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. How do you think that would actually look in real life? That if I did things, I was in word, I'm talking to somebody, or in deed, I'm doing something, I'm doing it in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. How do you think that would actually work out?
You could say it would work out.
Well, if I'm talking to you and I'm doing it, well, that would be in word. And let's say you've done something that's irritated me. Okay, and the reason for our talk is more on the harder talk. What would it look like on my part?
You have a calm to yourself.
I think there would be a calm to myself.
And it's also the peace would push the frustration of that hard talk from being thankful out of the way.
Yeah, and but would the purpose behind my talk be more focused on my anger or my frustration or on helping? Correctiveness, helping, resolving, so that we can restore. Um, I mean, it has to. Hey, good morning, Suresh, all the way from India. I see you on there. Uh, it has to mean something. Or if I'm doing something, or saying, well, I'm doing this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I'm giving thanks to God, and then wouldn't my behavior be as such that it demonstrated that?
Yeah.
I mean, because the Word of God needs to manifest through me.
If it's done truthfully.
So, yeah, and truthfully would have to be another one, not manipulatively, not trying to get you. I remember when I was young, this guy, an older guy, I mean, he was older than me, he was probably at least 20 years older than me. David, come here. Put his arm around me. I hear you've been doing such and such and such and such and da 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 da. No, he didn't say I'm hearing. He said, the Lord's told me. And he's coming off now. He's there to, let's say, help me. But really, his approach to me was to look spiritual. And because there was no follow up on it, there was no anything. And then later off, I found out my friend, who was his nephew, I think. Anyway, there was a relationship, I can't remember exactly, had told him what we had done because my friend was involved in it also. And so he approached me as though he was, all spiritual and stuff. So it wasn't, and like I said, there was no follow up to it to make sure that I was not doing it again and, whatnot. It was about him looking more spiritual. Yeah, a lot in that way. And so, we've got, this is where I come back and I say, it's not so much how I feel about how I walk with God. It's more about what you can see in me. Because if you can see it, then it's probably true. If I'm just telling you about it, then it could be a lie. It could be manipulation. It could be true. It could be anything. And so then verse 18, which there's one of those backwards P's. It means a new paragraph. So I just thought I would put in there. So what we're going to do in the unto the Lord. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands. The Amplified says, wives, be subject to your husbands, subordinate, and adapt yourselves to them. Uh, we live in a day and time right now where this verse, um, all the way from Tulare, good to see you. Must be Felix typing. I don't think Sandy would have said that. In um, husbands and wives, I got in a conversation just here recently about husbands and wives. And you know, the women's lib movement really hurt women. Women are a powerful being. In fact, there's an old saying about women that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. I mean, women don't realize in their trying to be equal with men, they've actually robbed themselves of their most power. And so when it says, "Wives, submit yourselves to your husband," it's not a dictatorial thing. It's not a dictatorship. It's not a I'm man, I'm in charge. It's nothing like that. It's a protection standpoint. So I've often said with Pastor Harbaum, I'm a very submitted person, but he doesn't control my life, but he's there as a safety net, as a resource, as a hey David, you know what? I think you need to pay attention to this, and can speak into my lives. A husband and wife, it is a partnership, but in most marriages, husbands and wives are not on the same page of where they're going. So what I've said many times on people getting married is you can like their personality, you can find them attractive, but if you're not going the same way, you're in for trouble. And that's where the breakdowns comes. It's also within the church when the church is not going the same way, because every church probably has that person in it. They're trying to be something within the church. They won't align themselves with the vision. They don't come in unity because they're too spiritual for it. They know what they're doing. And so when it says here, in fact, let me read it. I don't remember if I did or not. Out of the Amplified. Wives, be subject to your husbands, subordinate, and adapt yourselves to them. But now here's an interesting statement. As it is fit in the Lord. So our Amplified says, as is right and fitting in your proper duty in the Lord. So I've forgotten about those last 6 words, as it is fit in the Lord. What if a woman is married to a non-believing spouse? Now there's verses in the Bible that says if she walks right, she can affect and bring salvation to him. But now it's like, what if my husband doesn't want to XYZ that's in the Bible? Well, it says, as it is fit unto the Lord. You know, we are all supposed to obey the laws of the land as long as they do not violate the Lord's law. We're supposed to live our lives unto God in all areas. So in a marriage, some husbands think they are supposed to rule over their wives. They think they own their wives. That's the element of, we'll get down to the men here in a second, but that's the element of a man being the leader of the household. It's not a ruling position. But that goes for the woman also. In today's women's lib movement and we're equal, we're this, they try to rule. Now, on the flip side of that, a person that has a strong leadership position, somebody else who just lives by their emotions or whatnot, they're going to think they're controlling. I've been accused of being controlling. I'm probably the least controlling person you've ever met, because I'll let you do whatever you want. I try to guide, I lead. I will confront behaviors if it's affecting the church or something like that. But if you're just doing you and it's wrong, I know who I pastor and who I don't pastor. I don't say things about everything because it's not my position. But people view, because I have a strong leadership, I have a type A personality, they will view me as controlling. Well, what it is they typically don't have a strong confidence in who they are, and they want to try and control the situation. I tell you what, we live in a world right now that's it's just a mess. People don't understand who they are. They don't understand how things work. everybody, like probably in the 90% of people, live their life on an emotional basis of how it feels. And you go in the army, and I tell you what, they expect you to stand to attention to somebody in a higher position. Are they doing that to inflict you're an inferior person, or to teach you and train you that if you're on the battlefield and you hear that commander snap an order, that you'll do it because he's looking out for your safety? See, and this goes back to the man who's trying to lead a household. Are you doing it to protect and make the life better? See, but when people look at it, men or women, and they're looking at it from, well, she doesn't submit to me, she's not, this or that. Okay, is it because you just want to be somebody and be controlling? Or are you trying to do what's good for the family? The woman, you can't tell me what to do. Well, probably in a sense, that's right, because you've got a right to do whatever you want to do, but you're not going to make the family work. You're not going to make the household of faith work. And so, as it is fit unto the Lord, it's not. We can read other verses about masters, do right by your slaves, or translation into modern, employers, do right by your employees. Employees, do right by your employers. Everybody today, they don't care about that unless they're, over 55 or something, and they're from the old school, that they understand their place as an employee and the employer understands their place as an employer. But husband, love your wives and be not bitter against them. So go ahead.
I have a question. So what happens in households where the women are actually domineering?
It doesn't work. You're going to walk into trouble, and that's where men and women have to find their place. Now, a woman's place is to, say, like, manage the house, for lack of a better word. So there's elements that she has responsibilities, and if she does it well, she'll build her house. She will build her man. One of the things that I think that's very interesting is so many women emasculate their husbands because they want to try to control it, and they don't understand how they could make their husbands far more successful by being a true woman of God. And that's why I said women are really screwed up these days, because they don't understand the power of their womanhood. They turn, in fact, of Sarah. In fact, what was the definition of Sarai's name? Contentious. So Abraham's Sarah had contention with her. And look how, now I'm not saying it's Sarah's fault, but there's two of them. But she's the one who came up with the idea. Why don't you take Hagar, my handmaiden, and go do it? Okay, so could have Abraham gotten there faster if Sarah had, which would mean Sarah would have gotten there faster if Sarah would have made her man. Who is it? There's somebody. Why did Sarah call Abraham Lord? Because it would be Lord with a lowercase L. She wasn't calling him God. She was calling him Lord over the household. But her behavior contradicted that on occasions. And so some husbands think they're real. Some husbands don't trust their wives due to Eve's deception. I don't know if it's due to Eve's deception, but men have issues also. But then also we come back on trust on either side. Why don't we trust our spouse? It could be by experience. So if you have a spouse that in their attitude, they are the center of the universe. They judge everything, and this can go for men or women. They judge everything that goes on around them by how it's affecting them. They have no, this is a big, I talk about it a lot. This is a big issue with Americans right now. Most Americans live their lives without purpose. They live it based on events that are going on. We were talking about the other day about jobs. It was in the helping of other people, and the other people had to deal with some things because the employees they had a job, they didn't have a purpose. So they made decisions that was comfortable to them. Who was it? I don't know if Tammy's on here or not. There's a preacher that I think it's Dr. Barkley, that Miss Vicky, or he says, Miss Vicky made me who I am. In his leadership over so many people, hundreds of full-time ministers, thousands of people, but Vicky made him what he became. This is what most women don't understand: is you are man makers, and if your man has like failure issues, they're not achieving, they're not getting to the purpose of where they should be. You can't just blame it on the things that the man's doing, because if you understand what God has empowered you with, you will, in fact, even in the garden, you see it. Adam was with Eve when she ate of the tree, and he ate of it because of her. Women do not understand, or many women do not understand how much power they have in the success of the man that they're with. Now, this takes purpose.
If I can interject something too with that, what I've noticed in a lot of women is what she has physically, which is what the devil has promoted. She used that to dominate the man.
Absolutely. And, it's not so much true today, but you go back a few decades where women stayed at home and men worked. So men were the breadwinners. They would try to control the women by keeping money from them and control them with money, just whereas a woman will try to control a man with sex or the lack thereof. Leandra says, I used to be like that, wanted to be treated as equal and thought I could lead, but I was wrong and caused more strife in my marriage and home, trying to be his equal or more. I'm glad you said that, Leandra, because very few women really understand that. Tammy, Miss Vicky, that's Dr. Barkley's wife, wrote the mini book Man Maker, and so how she helped Dr. Barkley get to where he was at. I don't get it, because if a man is a man and leads the family, the woman is protected. I don't know why a woman would fight against that. A man is more capable of just, like, let's say, physical protection. This is why I don't understand why women want to be police officers and stuff. They just don't have the capability to go against a man. What?
I want to ask you a question. Do you think it's part of a generational curse?
No, I think it's a part of culture. The women's lib movement has really destroyed masculinity, and not just the women's lib movement. Right now, we have a movement to destroy masculinity, and but the women's lib movement really started the decline of masculinity by the exertion of femininity, in thinking that and teaching people that a woman can do what a man can do. Well, if you're talking about thinking, I mean, yeah, there's women that are smarter than men. I mean, there's no issue with that. But there's a place where the woman's knowledge works. There's a place where the man's knowledge works. There's a place where the femininity of a woman works, and there's a place where the masculinity of a man works. But people don't like doing that. When you say power, are you meaning authority? Yes, authority. Thank you. That's actually a better word. There's an authority structure there. Coming to Christ, this is Leandra again, and learning the way God intended marriage to be. I love being his helper and building him up. See, now there is no limit to what you can achieve if you have that attitude. And a lot of people in today's world would come back and say, oh, Leandra, no, you got to realize that you're this and you're that and da 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 da. No, you're right where you're saying, and there's more power. And since you've made this switch, I bet you that you have a testimony that there's more peace in your house. Andrew's become more of a man and more of a leader, and it's affected your kids and everything like that. And so verse 19 says, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Now let's see what bitter means. Let me read it out of the Amplified. Husbands, love your wives, be affectionate and sympathetic with them, and do not be harsh or bitter or resentful toward them. And so now, this is probably hard on the element in any case of just people being people. But it's really hard when people they're motivated by what they want and they're not motivated by purpose. If you're a husband and wife and you get married and you're on the same page, let's name some pages here: children, money, long-term expectations, like where you want to be. Like, let's say you're getting married in your 20s, and let's say you want to be someplace when you're in your 60s, as far as having, as far as what you want to do together in your retirement, how much money you need so that you can do that, blah, 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 blah. So now we have a purpose when we get married. One of them is kids. Okay, so there's an agreement of how many kids. All right. Let's raise up 2. Let's raise up 3. Let's raise up 5. Now, Tammy comes from a house where there's a total of 5 kids. I come from a house where there's a total of 2 kids, and me and my sister were never close. So the sibling thing never really clicked with me. Tammy and her siblings were close. They did things together and stuff like that. So when we got married, and then when I was 12, 13, I would rather hang around adults than I would 12 and 13-year-olds. I was always more mature than my age, and which is not a positive thing because I missed out on stuff and viewed things wrong. But I'm just saying, I always enjoyed being around adults a lot more than I enjoyed being around kids. So now, so we ended up having 2, Tiffany and Marissa, that have just been a total blessing. But I've said before, and Tammy wants to knock me upside the head, I wish we would have had 5, because the experience that I had, which I could not see from before, I didn't want kids. It took us 3 years, I think, before I decided, okay, we'll have kids. I guess we're getting older, and if we're going to do this, we need to do it now. But it wasn't a want to on my side. Now, when Tiffany was born, she changed my life. And, and all of a sudden I was engaged because she was just, just such a wonderful child to raise up. But we were not on the same page, and Tammy was very submissive in this. She said, okay, we'll have 2. And even though she wanted more than 2. And so what would have happened if we were on the same page? It probably would have changed. Now, one thing we were on the same page is how to raise them. And we had a purpose in raising them. Today, people don't have purposes in raising kids. They stick electronics in front of them to keep them entertained so they don't have to deal with them. If they cry, they just immediately do everything they can to stop them from crying because crying annoys them. They don't want to. The child rearing right now is just really horrible. I really feel bad on it. I don't know. It didn't come up on my screen that we lost the screen. It might have just streamed. It might have been you. So the next verse says, children, obey your parents. Well, do people teach their children? Do they raise them in the way that they should go? Well, no. They just let days and cycles go by. Most parents today don't even discipline or train their kids. They wait till they go to school and they let the teacher do it. Why do you want somebody who's possibly very ungodly training your children how to behave? Why don't you discipline? When I was young, way back in the 1960s, my parents taught us how to sit and behave in church. Wow, what a concept. We didn't have, like we do now, where we dismiss the kids to go into children's ministry. We sat through the whole thing. They taught us how to behave. Nobody teaches kids that. Well, they can't do that. Oh, you hear these parents, oh, you just don't know how hard it is to get ready. I've got a child. It's like you're not working because now you got this family leave thing that you can stay home and, be a flake. You're not working and you still can't get to church on time and you're consumed because you have one child. Yeah, well, we both worked full time and we still trained our child and we had control of our day. So, but we were on the same plane, except for the number of kids. We were on the same plane of it's our responsibility to train them how to be responsible, how to make decisions that are right. On money, Dave Ramsey talks about this all the time, that you have a nerd and you have a free spirit. And they celebrate that fact. Well, this is just the way I am. You're spending all of our money, says the nerd. Well, why can't we enjoy anything? Because we got to save, says the nerd to the free spirit. You've got to be on the same page. Where are we going? What are we trying to do so that when we get to our 60s or 70s or whatever, we can accomplish, because it's a plan that we have. And I know there was a couple that was, they bought a house that was a beater, a fixer-upper. They moved into it. Their plan was, we're going to move into this house that really is not livable right now. We're going to fix it up to where it's really nice. We're going to sell it for a lot more and buy a better fixer-upper. So let's just do it by square foot. We're going to buy this 1,000 square foot house. We're going to live in it, and then we're going to fix it up, sell it for more, and then we're going to buy a 1,400 square foot house. And then we're going to fix it up, sell it where we have extra. Then we're going to buy an 18 because we want to live in a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and then we'll have it paid for by the time we get there, and we'll raise our kids in it and everything like that. And they did that. But why did it work? Because they had a plan that both of them were on. Now, most people, and I don't remember us really talking about our plan, we're just in love, and oh, everything is going to be so happy and everything like that. But if you don't have the same purpose, you're going to have major struggles. And what I see, marriage counseling right now, based on the Bible, I was raised to sit through the whole service, and I taught my kids to do the same. And we should do the same. And we should train them on how they should act and behave. My goal, my objective, and the way I said it was, I've got 18 years to set their cells. And what I meant by that is the cells was going to catch the wind and take them places, and they had to know how to set their cells. What I meant by that was, I need to teach them how to make decisions. And my whole goal was, how do you navigate this thing to make the correct decision? How do you look at it, not have an emotional response, and be able to make a decision that's going to take you where you want to go? And people that talk to my daughters, that they say to us very frequently, "Man, your daughters are so smart." Neither one of them has a degree, because a degree doesn't make you smart. A degree educates you. And some of the dumbest people I've ever met have degrees. But my goal was, do they know how? And in the employment fields that they've been in, they've had people with degrees come to ask them, how do we do this? Because they had the ability to think through the situation, look at it, and come up with conclusions about it. Now, Peter's sitting here. You got to work with Tiffany more closely in the last 6-8 months and got to know her better. Isn't that true? How does she handle herself?
Very well.
I mean, does she know how to approach things?
Yeah.
I mean, it's proud daddy time when I'm sitting around either Tiffany or Marissa, and I hear them start taking charge of a conversation, explaining what, and I'm just like, that's my girls. They know what they're doing. And so children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord.
I wanted to
Oh,
say
okay.
something. Do you think 20 ties into 18?
Yeah, I think they all tie in. If 18, 19, and 20 work, you're going to have a very happy family. And one of the things that I said that, Tammy and I were on the same page. When our kids were little, we parented them. Today, you find people, they want to be their best friend. They want to be a friend to their child. And now they've got their 50-year-old living in their basement, in their house, not doing anything, or, Okay, that time I lost the connection. And now they're living at home, and the parents, when they're in their 60s and 70s, are supporting them. Tammy and I, we parented our kids, which means that we had to direct them in things. They got mad at us. No, you're not going to do that. Well, everybody else is doing it. Yeah, but I don't want you in that environment. And but now, while they're in their 30s, yeah, and we're friends with them. We have a great relationship with them in their adult years. We don't have to take care of them. They did here recently for about 15 months, but it wasn't because they were flakes. Lived with us again. They bought a condo together. They sold it. They thought they would get within the next 60, 90, 120 days, they would get something. And the real estate market was just such that they made offers on things, but somebody else came in. They were bidding up prices, and people were paying more than what the property was worth. And so we didn't care that they were living in the house because they were still working. They were paying rent to us. Now, it wasn't market rent, but it's like, you're not going to live here for free. Why? Even as adults and responsible adults, I don't want to make a flake out of them. They had responsibilities. They even had, I believe they even had to cook, I think, once a week or something like that. Each one, so that'd be like twice a week. They had to play their part. They were in our house. And then they finally got a house. Offer was accepted, and they moved in. And it was at the time that we took a group trip to the Philippines. When we came back from, it closed while we were in the Philippines, and they moved in like a couple of days after we got back. And they've been on their own ever since, which that was a couple of years ago. And so, we're not paying their bills. We're not, whatever else would go in there. Why? Because we raised them to be responsible. And now we get to bless them every once in a while. Hey, you guys want to go to dinner with us? Or, hey, you guys want to come over for dinner? They're always up for that because they don't like cooking, but they do take care of their own stuff. But now it becomes a relationship and a blessing. And I tell you what, I'm a happy person because of the relationship that we have with our kids. So, but now watch here on 20. Children, obey your parents in all things. Many people, both men and women, as we were talking about in relationship, take on a dictatorship of their children. And they just go there, sit down, shut up. Da, 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 da. They just want to control what they do. And or they live their lives through their children. Because, let's say when they went to high school, they loved doing this, but the kid has no interest in it. But they forced them to do that. This is one of the big complaints I had growing up is, my mom's from a musical family and loves music and everything like that. And she made me take choir. I had no interest in choir. And finally, when I got an F in choir or a D- or something like that, she didn't make me take it anymore. And basically, I didn't want to take it. I was made to take it. And it's like, I don't have the same love for music as what you have. But she wanted me to. And, it's not that the want to was right or wrong. It was just her want to, not my want to, in learning the child and helping to get the child to where they're going. So basically, I just went in there and sat. I didn't sing. I didn't do anything. And Mr. Clifton, I think was his name, would come up and ask me to do something. I said, no, I'm not doing it. So I took an F. I don't want to do it. And so, and they are humble, not boastful. This is Tammy talking about our girls, of their accomplishments, which speaks to their characters. Absolutely. And your girls are definitely not flakes. They're special operations soldiers. Yeah, absolutely. How do we bridge the generation gap? That's actually a good question. Now, can you further define, Shirish, how you define the generation gap so I know exactly where you're coming from? And then I'll answer it. Because in my mind, I know every generation is different, but there are things that work in life and there are things that don't work. And it really doesn't matter what your generation is doing. There are things that works and there are things that don't work. So let's say you're raising a child. Let's say a child was born in the 50s here in the United States. And so that they're like a teenager in the 60s. Well, the 60s was a very drug time in the United States. And the parents were probably born like in the 40s, and they didn't have that. So there was a generation gap between the two. And so what should a parent do in that scenario? Train your children and teach them how drugs are wrong. It doesn't matter if everybody's doing it. It was the free love communal. What do they call that when everybody lives together and commune? Yeah. And same thing, just a different tense or something like that on it. And train them and teach them that this is not going to lead to a good outcome. We live in a day and age right now where electronics are ruining people. People don't know how to communicate. Kids don't know how to communicate. And parents just shove electronics in front of their kids, make them talk, make them learn how to entertain themselves so they don't just become isolated in this. What is the big problem in this? Why does it not work now? Because parents do the exact same thing. They see their parents sitting on the phone, on the electronics all the time. And I understand that electronic plays a part in this, but you better have not demonstrate that you've always got to have an electronic, in front of you in order to make your life work. So if I didn't answer that, this is how I do it: is look to, there's principles laid out in the Bible that work. Teach the principles that work, no matter what your generation is doing. Oh, you're just so old school. Yep. Let me tell you something about old school. There's things that we did that worked, and there was things that we did that didn't work. I'm trying to help you see and understand the things that don't work. Yeah, make them go outside and play. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. They need vitamin D. They need movement. Teach them that it is enjoyable to go outside, that there's things to do, there's things to have fun, there's things to get engaged with. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger. How do you provoke your child to anger? Being too harsh with them. You're really trying to exact what you want instead of where they're at. Maybe they have a different personality in you. How do you help them get to success in who they are? Now, I don't believe in all this woke stuff and just letting somebody, well, they don't want to. Who cares whether you want to or not? I remember my dad making me do something one time, and it's like, I don't want to do that. He says, David, you're going to need to know how to do this, because there's going to come a day when this is, you're going to have to deal with this, and I want to teach you how to deal with it. I said, well, if there's going to come right now I'm going to do it and I don't have to do it. And if there's going to come a day where I'm going to have to do it, why don't I just learn it then? And then if it never shows up, I don't have to waste my time doing it because I don't want to do it. And he had the wise words of, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You're going to do it. So he made me do what I didn't want to do, but he explained to me why. Now, that didn't change the dynamic of making me want to do it, but I understood at least why he was making me do it, and what I was supposed to learn from it. Generation gaps. This is Tammy. Generation gaps only exist if it's promoted. Well, that's absolutely true. 100% agree with that. The younger generation should see the older generation. In fact, let me put this up there. I don't know if people can see it. I'll put it up there. Okay, so here it is. Generation gaps only exist if it's promoted. And right now, there's a lot of things being promoted in culture that will not work. But yet, because of the promotional element of it, people think it will work. The younger generation should see the older generation live by example, and in turn, most will respect and look up to those who are older, especially if you add explanation to it. Instead of shoving in electronics, instead of allowing your kids to watch TV for 15 hours a day, instead of allowing your kids just to lay around and do nothing, you're busy. You're not living on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever else ones are out there now. And they see you and they want, hey, all my friends are on whatever the big social media is. Why can't I? And you explain to them why. You explain the damages that it's doing to people. I don't want you to grow up and not be able to communicate, to not have interaction with other people, to have a life that's just solely dictated by electronics. And you put meaning to it where it makes sense, you're going to raise more adult kids. And we have 35-year-olds now that are still, they're 35 going on 14 because they never develop who they are. Providing explanation is necessary. Don't let the kids connect the dots, because they're going to connect the wrong dots together. And you want to explain to them why. So children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Teach your children to obey, but also teach them the word of God, that their obeyment is to authority within the realm of the word of God. You hear Christians who are supposed to be leaders, who are supposed to be more mature, get pulled over by a police officer, and they give them their mouth. Why don't you go out and get real lawbreakers, blah, 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 and they got to be mouthy. They don't demonstrate the submission to authority. Police have an authority. Now, if a police officer pulls you over and says, hey, you know what, I got this plan to rob 7-Eleven up the street and I want you to help me on it. No, you don't obey that. That's not going to happen, here, but you're not going to obey that because the instruction of the authority is out of line with the Bible. And so, fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. We are to motivate our children to become who God created them to become. We are to motivate them. The reason that the culture is so anti this is because if people would follow these, your boys would grow up to be men, and your women will grow up to be women. Your boys will grow up to be men who are attracted to women, and your girls will grow up to be women attracted to men. And they will have a purpose behind their life of what they want to do. They will desire to procreate. And if you teach them right, they'll marry somebody who's on the same, they can get in alignment on purpose. They find them attractive. They enjoy being around them, but there's a purpose to the marriage. And it's not just free sex. There's a purpose beyond to the marriage. Allowing the younger to make mistakes, because they will, but guiding them and teaching them in authoritative love. Absolutely. This is the other element. People have, even within the church, of allowing people to do things that I knew wouldn't work. Why do you let them do that? How are you ever going to teach them if they don't make a mistake here and there? Let them figure it out. But you guide, in the process. Here's the part it says servants, but we're going to talk about employees. Servants, obey in all things your masters. How good, according to the flesh, how good is your employment record? We were talking about timesheets before we got online. Do you cheat on your timesheet? How well are you employed? Are you there when you're supposed to be there? Or are you about you? Is your timesheet about you? Well, if I just whittle this a little bit here and a little bit there, it'll be more money for me. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh. The flesh is, here is your time. Sign in, sign out. I'm talking, Christians do this all the time. They whittle things. Do you steal from your employer? Do you, if you got a grade, what do they call it when the employer sits down with the employee? The performance review. If your performance review was with Jesus, who sees all things, how would he rate it? Not with eye service, meaning you're doing right when they're there looking around. As men pleasers, we call them brown nosers, that we're just going to do things and make them think that we're doing. This happens all the time in church. People come up all the time. They think that you don't know where they're coming from, what their game is. But in singleness of heart. Now, what is the singleness of heart? Verse 17, whatever you do in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. That's where the singleness of heart. Matthew chapter 6, I believe it is. If your eye be single, then your whole body shall be full of light. I'm doing this unto the Lord. I'm doing this because God's watching me. He knows my heart. He knows what I'm supposed to do. He knows my heart and what I do. And he's watching the movement of it. And if I'm just, it's just me, and I don't care if, I know I'm in Tammy's employment as a teacher, she was tenured. Not that she did this, but I'm just talking about the tenureship. I've been tenured, so I know it's going to take an act of God for them to fire me. I show up when I want to show up. I show up when I show up. I'll do it the way I want to do it. See, God knows the heart. God knows why we're doing things. And whatsoever you do. Now, in the statement of whatsoever you do, what does whatsoever you do mean?
Life.
Yeah. Everything in life, whatever you do. If you're sitting, if you're running, if you're talking to someone, whatever you do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. Are you known for giving harsh answers? Do you get ticked off easy? Do you feel violated easy? It's because your life's all about you. Knowing that of the Lord, wait a minute, do you know this? That of the Lord, wait, let me go back. Whatsoever you do, do it heartily. Let's see what the Amplified says. Servants, 23. Whatever may be your task, work at it heartily from the soul, the mind, will, and emotions, as something done for the Lord and not for men. I'm showing up to work because I'm doing it to the Lord and not because my employer says I should arrive at 8 o'clock. I'm doing my timesheet. This is the exact time I got here. This is the exact time I got out. I didn't waste a few minutes getting to the, you're getting your, nowadays it's all electronic stuff typically. You're getting ready to leave and it's 5 o'clock. It's time to go home. Let me just go file this paper and then I'll go to the bathroom. And then I'm going to run by the kitchen and grab my sandwich that I didn't eat for lunch. And I'll end up getting an extra 3 minutes. And that 3 minutes I get every day is going to add up to 15 minutes. I'm going to pull a little bit of overtime. God knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
Knowing that of the Lord, you shall receive the reward of the inheritance of what you did. Now, most people read this, and I guess you could read it because the assumption of this verse is that you are going to do it right and you are going to receive the inheritance that has been given to us through Jesus Christ. But let's not read it that way. Knowing that of the Lord, you shall receive the reward of the inheritance for what you just did. Because remember, you're supposed to do it heartily as unto the Lord. But when you're making decisions so that your time clock works out better for you, when you're making decisions so that you get there when you want, you leave when you want, works out better for you, you are going to receive the inheritance of that. Paul talked about, I can't pronounce the guy's name, that withstood him, and he said, may he receive the rewards of evil. There's rewards of evil. See, a lot of people don't realize why they're walking through what they're always walking through. Why they're always sick and they can't seem to beat sickness, why their money is always dry and they can't seem to beat the dryness of money, why they're tormented in their mind, they have no peace. But we're receiving a reward for how we conduct our life. I think if we truly realize the fact that the Lord is with us always, we wouldn't say or do most of the things that we do. We have become way too familiar with God, and we've also become in a internal mentality that we think we are lords of our life, that we can do it the way we want to do it. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done. And there is no respect of person. Don't think you're so holy that you're not going to receive what you've done. Galatians chapter 6, God is not mocked. You're not going to beat his system. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Most people do not look at their life as a reaping from what they've done. They're constantly battling stuff. They're constantly in distress. They're constantly under pressure. And they never consider, maybe I'm not conducting my life the way that I should. This right here, unfortunately, is too true. We have perfected the seared conscience. And I would throw in there an attribute of the seared conscience is that we judge ourselves by our intentions. Because if I judge myself by my intentions and not by my actions, then I can operate with a clear conscience under the seared conscience. Because I know what I intend. I intend to be faithful. I intend to walk with God. I intend to reveal the love of God. I intend to guide my life. But how come you don't do any of it? Why do you get offended over everything? Why do you view life from the negative perspective instead of from the faith perspective? Why won't you, going back, why won't you submit to your husband? Why won't you love your wife? Why won't you do these things? See, it's what we do. It's not what we say we do. It's not what we think we do, it's what we do. And God is watching our heart as to what we do, the real motive behind why we do it. And we are going to reap based on what we have sowed. I just don't know why they won't love me. I do everything for them. You may do everything for them based on what you want to do for them and totally misunderstand what they need. See, people get this messed up in marriage. Well, I'm the perfect wife. I'm the perfect husband because I do these things and they just don't respond to me. No, they are responding to you. This is where the language of love book really, I think they really hit it on the nail, is that we typically express love in our language of love. So like one of the languages of love, there's like 6 of them or something like that. One is gifts, one is touching, one is quality time, one is acts of service. Can't remember the other one. And somebody remembers the other one. Gifts. Gifts. So let's say that you're a gift person. Nothing says I love you like bringing home a box of chocolate or a gift or a something that's just a surprise for the day. You get to open it, and that's your, man, nothing says I love you like that. And the other person is, I'll use mine, acts of service, is that doing something for somebody. There's nothing that says I love you than like, hey, let me do that for you. Okay? So then the person that has the acts of service will typically express their love to the gift person by doing something for them. Hey, I took out the trash for you today.
So they will actually comment.
Oh, they might. I'm commenting to make the story real. I mean, I think that would go to the person. Hey, I just want to let you know I took the trash out for you today. Yeah. Congratulations. Where's my gift? Did you bring me a gift? No, I took the trash out for you. And tomorrow I'm going to vacuum the living room for you. Where's the bow? See, because to the person, it's what their language of love is. And usually people are loving each other like this. They're missing the mark because they don't understand the other person. And there can be a lot of attributes of why that happens. Some can just be ignorance. They don't think about it because, acts of service, man, for somebody who has acts of service as a love language, what can say I love you more than somebody doing something for you? I mean, I don't get why they think I don't love them, because you haven't said I love you. And I'm not saying the words I love you. You haven't said I love you because you haven't brought a gift home in 3 years. Why do they want a stupid package? I'm not a gift person, and so bringing a gift is not my love language. It's nice. I received the gift. Going overseas, yes, they do have to say they do it, because the next comment is from Dutch girl, whoever that is, making the electrolyte drink, even when you have been standing all day, just cooked dinner and cleaned, and just sat down for the evening. So yes, sometimes they do have to point it out. I feel sorry for her husband.
I do too.
But the walking, he that does wrong is going to receive the wrong response. He that does right is going to receive the right response. One of the biggest acts of stupidity is, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get. No, you're not doing everything right. People recycle problems over and over and over again, believing they're walking in God. I don't know why I keep walking through these dynamics that I walk through, and they never look over at what they are sowing. Our lives are dictating where we're going to be. And chapter 4, verse 1 says, Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that you also have a master in heaven. So again, this ties into, remember, the chapter 4 was made by the translators. It was not made by the Apostle Paul.
Right.
When the Apostle Paul wrote this, he said, I'm reading verse 25 of chapter 3, but he that doeth wrong shall receive the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that you also have a master in heaven. So if you have an employer, if you have somebody that works for you, if you have somebody that you have an authority over, understand how you treat them is how your master is going to treat you. I mean, God set up a system here where we're subject one to another. Do you know how many people don't want to be subject to anybody? They don't want a Lord in their life. There's even people that recognize there is a Lord, God of heaven, but they don't want him to instill or push his opinion on them. So
How dumb they are.
how dumb we are. Because we don't. Is God trying to help us or deprive us? He's trying to help us. So everything he's told us, let's remember some. Wives, submit yourself to your husbands. Husbands, love your wives. He's done that so that it works for us. He set up purpose so it works for us. He told us not to get offended so that we don't get offended. He told us to do things that everything we do has a reaping to it, or a benefit to it. Do it right so you get the benefit. It amazes me how many people have chosen to do something that is good, but then destroy their harvest because they can't keep their mouth shut. They got to tell people they didn't want to do it, and it took up their time, or it took up some resources of their, and they ruin their whole reward because they can't do it with the right heart. That which is equal and just, knowing that you also have a master. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. Now, what is in the same mean?
What you just read.
Yeah, all the things we just talked about. Amplified. Be earnest and unwearied and steadfast in your prayer life, being both alert and intent in your praying with thanksgiving. So in this context of continue in prayer, what is the prayer that you continue in?
What you just read.
Yeah, that you can walk. If you're a wife, being submitted. If you're a husband, to love. If you're a child, to obey. If you're a father, to not provoke. If you're a servant, to obey. If you're a master, give righteously. Whatever you do, you're one of the prayer lives. I didn't take that wrong. I understood it. I tied it into my my message, and that you do that, because do you know how hard it is to live like this? Now, most people give themselves a pass on living unto the Lord because they judge themselves by their intent. They don't judge themselves by what they are doing. You're going to get a reward for the intent of your heart, right? No, you're going to get a reward based on what you do, which actually reveals the intent of your heart. Continue, verse 3. Watch in the same with thanksgiving, with all praying also for us, that God would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds. Amplified. And at the same time, pray for us also, that God may open a door to us for the word, the gospel, to proclaim the mystery concerning Christ, the Messiah, on account of which I am in prison. Now, that's interesting. In bonds, in prison. Describe how Paul is saying, oh, it's 9:30. Okay, we're going to we'll pick up on 4:3 and talk about that. in prison next week. Are you in prison? In the prison of confined to doing what God says and not what you think? That's where we should live. Hey, if you live anywhere near Visalia, because I tell you what, somebody took away my thing. Anyway, if you live anywhere near Visalia, California, we invite you to become part of Covenant of Peace International West Coast, where we're empowering families, transforming communities, and equipping people with God's hope. We invite you to join us tomorrow night. We're going to have fellowship dinner, chicken noodle soup made by B, homemade chicken noodle soup. Her chicken noodle soup is mwah. And so you will enjoy that. 6:15 for dinner, 7 o'clock for Bible study, where we're on step 3 of the framework of learning how to share our testimony with people and engaging in evangelism. We're empowering people to do what God has commanded us to do. So we invite you to come out and be a part of that. And we'll see you on Friday for our live stream at 10 o'clock. We'll be live streaming tomorrow also, but I would encourage